金の奴隷が鞭持って金で買った奴隷に囚人面してやがんの。自覚がないだけなのさ。人間はみんな何かの奴隷だ。
Between the many themes of Vinland Saga, ranging from violence, the horror of war, politics, religion, revenge, love, hatred, hope, peace, and more, one theme stands out as not only being the focus of the story in many of its characters, but as the connecting thread to all of the others previously mentioned, that being slavery. Slavery not only in the common meaning we know it as, but as an overall force that stands in the way of our goals, happiness, and freedom. And that can be through mindset, like how Thorkel is a slave to his warrior identity and the thrill of battles, switching sides whenever he knows that will give him a better combat, being the exaggerated type of ruthless Viking that we know of, without giving much thought to any other meaningful thing in life, and ended up regretting his decision not to go with Thor's. It can be slavery through emotions, like Thorfinn was for a long time, a slave to his anger and desire to revenge. It can be slavery through bonds and expectations, like Knut, who for a long time was the younger prince who was burdened with the expectations of his father and the need to catch up to his older brother. It can also be slavery by the past, as in how Thor's, even though he traveled long distance and fully separated himself from the past, it still came back to him, forever hunting him no matter what. But to the half Danish and half Welsh cunning and charismatic leader of a band of mercenaries, that is a different story. Vinland Saga on the surface is a story about Vikings, violence and politics. It even deceives us into thinking that it's a story about revenge. All obvious and expected themes of a story set in the Viking era, an era of war and brutality, but it is the furthest thing from that, being a character-driven story about ideals and hope. It makes you think about the romanticism of war, the ideals of heroism, as well as the positive and negative impact of travel exploration, while contemplating about the meaning of pacifism and morality. Questions like, what does it mean to be free? And what does it mean to be a true warrior? Are constantly questioned and explored by various characters in the story, being the author's choice of answering these hard questions in such a complex and unique way, in a world that shows almost no signs of hope. Askeladd is a leader of a group of Danish Vikings that circle around England, taking on missions and raiding villages, doing whatever they want and using whatever means necessary, and sometimes unnecessary. But Askeladd, as materialistic as he seems at first, he is willing to join and work under anyone he deems worthy and respects, as well as hating Danes in general, including the very men that follow him. This complex admiration and hate relationship that Askeladd has with people comes from his childhood, as he lived a harsh life, having to take care of his insane mother from a very young age, working and at some point fighting his father while defending her, as she keeps on feeding him ideas and hopes about Artorius, his ancestor hero that will one day come to save him and change the world. Askeladd ended up killing his father from hatred and the harsh treatment that he does to his mother. After his mother's death, he is left with nothing but the idea of waiting for this hero to appear, even though by now he must have realized that he doesn't exist. But he still clings to that hope, because after all, that's all he has. After living 19 years in England, leading his group and mindlessly living through the moments, Askeladd encounters the first of the people that inspire him, that being Thor's the Troll, who selfishly and heroically sacrificed himself for the safety of others. Askeladd, as cunning as he is, couldn't help but keep his promise of retreating after completing the job due to the respect and admiration that he had towards Thor's. He even invites him to join him to lead or to follow him. He does the same thing again after witnessing the young Prince Canute, changing and showing signs of a great leader. Askeladd gets on his knees and provides his loyalty. Is this just Askeladd's way of admiration, or is it the longing for meeting a hero in real life? And that's what he saw in these people. Either way, this complex behavior is truly fascinating, especially because as we learn more about him throughout the story, being shown his good and empathetic side while also witnessing him cold-heartedly murdering people and doing all sorts of unforgivable things. Is this a man that is so broken by the life he endured that he has no other way of reacting but to do whatever he sees necessary for his survival and dominance? Or is he a slave to the past, to an idea, admiring a country and hating another simply for the fact that his parents are from each? A slave to the idea that change has to come through someone else's hand, and he just has to sit there and wait for it to happen. As I, for a long time, used to interpret Askeladd's actions towards the end of his life as him stepping up and being the hero of his own story, not only claiming the name but also heroically changing the course of actions and saving his beloved country while serving the crown to Canute, who he followed at the time. As applaudable and meaningful as that is, recently I've been seeing it a bit differently. The hero that Askeladd waited for may have been the kid that spent almost 10 years by his side. Thorfinn in Askeladd's eyes is just an annoying brat that wants to avenge his father, and he uses him as his weapon, because Thorfinn will accept anything that Askeladd orders him to do, because he will be rewarded with a chance to fight him in a duel and maybe get his revenge. Thorfinn himself also sees nothing in Askeladd but the murderer of his father, who he hates more than anyone. But is that all there is to their relationship? After the long journey they had together, Askeladd and Thorfinn develop an indirect father and son relationship. Thorfinn by far learned from Askeladd more than anyone else in his life, even his real father. When he died, it made him feel empty afterwards, not just losing his target and goal, but also losing someone he has a bond with. And even if Thorfinn was the one that killed him, it would have felt the same. Askeladd telling Thorfinn to look for a goal and pursue something meaningful in life is genuine care and honest feelings. If Thorfinn was nothing for him but what I described earlier, then why would he bother doing this? Thorfinn was told that a real warrior doesn't need a sword, and that he has no enemies. But he still went down that path because he did not understand what it meant at the time. And by experiencing all of the battles and wars alongside Askeladd, he now finally started to see why he doesn't need a weapon, beautifully shown in how he drops his dagger and we see his flashing memories. It's because of Askeladd that he came to understand this. And to Askeladd, Thorfinn is a young version of him. Both of them had to kill at a very young age, and both of them had to hate someone, and were obsessed with revenge. Askeladd saw himself in Thorfinn. He could be what Askeladd never was, and this reminded Askeladd of what he always wanted: a hero, a savior. Thorfinn, in a sense, liberated Askeladd from the cycle of mindless killing, and through what they have been through together, Askeladd became the hero of his own story at the end, and he took it upon himself to save a whole country, change the king of another country by his actions, and set Thorfinn to a whole different future by his words. Everything that Canute and Thorfinn will accomplish in the future, if they contribute to peace and or stability in this world, all of that will be the result of one single man's actions, one single Viking's life, a merciless mercenary that no one will remember as someone good, but a warrior that lost his mind and killed a king. Askeladd, the son of Olaf, the Uncrowned king. Many thanks for watching.